Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm going to try and keep focused today. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and keep myself focused, but you just never know what rabbit hole I'm going to go down today. So, just looking at how's your week been? How are things going for you out there in this wonderful world that we are living in? For me, you can put your comments down, please, and I'll read them out. For me, it started off like really like upbeat everything. I'm still quite upbeat. I still, the energies are feeling quite nice. There's a grand trine right now with Venus, and it's a grand trine in Earth. So it's Venus, Uranus, and the moon. And with the grand trine in air, it's like, or in Earth, it's like grounding, wanting to put things into the ground, wanting to, really cultivate what it is that you want to create. So it's a really nice creating one. Plus, it's an internal, with the moon being there, it's very internal on, what it is that you want to change. And this is where it's to change things up to feel better. So a lot of things, I want to feel better. I want to go into a good direction. And that sun in Aquarius, it's really gearing up to what is more fun. What can I do? What can I create? And it's coming into this weekend into a Kazini, which means that it looks like the sun engulfs Mercury and you can't see it. So it's trying to keep things in order. It's trying to keep things in. This is the way, bring bring us out of the craziness of the spell, bring us out of the craziness of the spell that's been cast on us, for the last while, and awakening us. This is like awakening us to what is possible, the possibilities, the direction of where I can go. Um, this is, I had a dream last night that the queen died, and it was so real that I woke up and I had to go check the emails and to see if she actually died overnight. Um, it's one of those things. I'm like, oh well, why would I dream that? And I just got, well, she doesn't want to go through another war. I went, oh, interesting. Um, so I found that very intriguing, to have that dream. With everything, I think there's huge. I'm feeling the eruptions, or sometimes feeling the earth move underneath. Earth moves under my feet. The earth moving, and it's like, okay, but there are no earthquakes. But I feel there's a lot of shifting that is going on, and that there was more going on than meets the eye. So this has been a week, even since last Friday with the eruption um in Tonga, the underground eruption. Even that was feeling weird. So I felt really weird about that, and I felt weird about some other things that were going on, and a lot of different movements that have happened when it comes to even with some clients. It was like well, it was actually four clients, Canadian ones, that each had family in military that were being moved. you know I found that quite interesting. And then with the announcement in the UK, and looking at how the energies, with that Saturn and Jupiter, Jupiter's in Pisces right now, looking at, still people are wanting to not believe what's happening. Now, the two fronts here. First, in understanding what's going on in the world and understanding what is coming forward does not mean that you're not spiritual. But in understanding what's going on, it's becoming aware of. When you're aware of, that gives you power to create the changes you need to have in your house, into your world, so that you are feeling more stronger, physically and mentally. It's The things I say aren't to scare you, they are to awaken you so that you're able to have a clearer vision of what is coming down, what is happening, so that you are able to stay more grounded and focused on what it is that you are needing to work on in your realm, in your world. And a lot that is, coming down in this world, like we've been seeing it, with the South Node Sag. I said there's things, with travel. I wouldn't really be the one to go around traveling. South Node Sag makes changes in travel, makes changes and rules change. We have seen it over the last 2 years on how travel has changed. From 2007 to 2019, travel was open. We were going traveling all over the damn place. Now you're going to find, and people are not going to like this, and they're going to say, oh, whatever, that there's going to be more travel restrictions. And with this 5G rollout, and I talked about a little bit of 5G and it being rolled out, it is inevitable for it to happen. They are putting it out. Is getting where planes aren't going to be able to fly and they are going to be grounded. Now, if a plane is grounded for so long, and I've mentioned this before, that the turbo engines cannot have to continue to be rotating. If they're not continuing to be rotated, that rotation or that engine has to be switched out. Airlines don't have that money. Private jets do, private companies do, but they're constantly flying. They haven't stopped flying since this whole thing happened, right? And same with military planes. So this is where we have to look at where things are going to be shutting down. And when things start to shut down, that means that when you go to certain places, there's going to be stricter rules placed upon you on what you can and cannot do. So it's going to cost you more money to do the travel that you want to do. There are going to be where, when it comes to pilots, especially those who have been elixired because it was experimental, may not be able to travel as much. So there's going to be less um, pilots. So this is changes that are coming in, or they're already here. Now the thing is, you don't see it in the front of the news, or you may not hear it, but it is coming down the pipeline. It is coming. And it's for us again to be aware. This our energies, or the astrological, where a lot of the planets are and aligned right now, are the very similar to 1856 and to when Poland invaded, when Germany invaded Poland, and the German Olympics, which are in a line with the Russian Olympics, or the China Olympics. So there's a lot of alignments that are like there's a lot of these little pinpoints that are lighting up in getting you to awaken, to get you to, not be distracted and come back to your focus. And that's the important piece here, is that you need to come back onto your focus. You need to come back, and it's like, okay, I see all of this happening. What does that mean to me personally? Okay. So when I'm going to say when, because I know it's inevitable, um war happens, what does that mean for you? Some of you might say, well, it doesn't mean anything, it's not going to affect me, it's like it's over there. Okay, it's over there. But are you prepared? Then this is why it's important for community. This is why in World War II, many communities came together to grow food, to collect things, to recycle. All of that was set up so that they could have what they needed for the forces. And this is where we're going to find that, do you have your community? Where's your community that you want to set up? Who are the people you want to work with and create with? And that could be communities online. that you have, whether that is meditation groups, prayer groups, garden groups, knitting groups, learning how to YouTube groups, whatever, marketing groups, business groups, whatever that group is, it is coming together, like having those communities of like-minded people coming together. And that's part of what the energies are saying too. So it's looking at what are the communities that you have and setting up that together. Many of you have been, for certain things, like I have many, little messenger groups or many different groups that we came together over the years. These are groups that I would, go back into and talk to the people, see how see how everybody's doing. And if there's anything that you need to be exchanged. So or if anything that you need shipped to you, things like that. So we're finding that with all of this is that yes, there's enforcements more coming in that you have to do this and you have to do that and you have to follow these restrictions. But we're going to find, just like in the UK, we are slowly going to follow suit. And there's always a reason. And you have to understand there's a reason for it. So, and my throat is getting up because there's so much here I want to say, but it's hard to say it on these platforms. Even though I'm not a big fish in the sea, just a small little wave that I'm trying to create, but it's like this is where we have to start looking at and awakening to. And one of the things, and here's my throat is going to go crazy. It's funny. It's like I'm being restricted because I'm kind of nervous because I know I don't want to make it political, and I know people always want to, they some people criticize and call me like, oh, you're a Scorpio, you always look at the dark side. No, I don't always look at the dark side, but I'm a realist that is a spiritualist that want people to understand that even with Russia, Ukraine, where they're saying that they're doing talks and everything else, Russia doesn't give a shit. Just an FYI. Putin, with Putin's energy and he doesn't care. He will do things for show, but he had an interview over a year ago, and he was laying it on the line on what he was going to do and what his full intent is. That he's making backdoor deals with China, and China's already with Afghanistan and the Taliban. And they already have the troops all lined up. So this is where there's tension that's coming up in the world. Now, as an empath, you're going to be feeling some of these tensions. You might be feeling overwhelmed or anxious or fearful. This again, we got to come back into our grounding, come back into your spiritual practice, because that is really going to help us to keep us focused and keep the light on. And that's going to be the most important thing that we are going to have to do over the next several years. This year is a huge transformational year. This is a year of global revolution. This is a year that is, and I mentioned before about the oil and gas with Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces. It has to do with oil and gas. It has to do with restrictions that are going to be put on us. That's, where Saturn is in Aquarius, more restrictions being placed upon us to, for us to behave or what have you. So this is happening along with other eruptions that are going to be happening. And the eruptions you're going to be really seeing and feeling by February 1st with this new moon. This new moon is going to bring in a lot of what was going on and revitalizing energies from the end of 2020. But it's not going to be similar to maybe what it was before, but it's going to be something different with those energies that are coming in. Few people have asked me, and for point blank asked me, are we heading for this? And I said, yes, we are. We are. We are going to see where, because things are getting priced out so out crazily, that and this and um that's going to put the pressures on having to mobilize to move in a certain direction that we have to go into. And we have to bring up a lot. We have to discuss this. We can't hide away from it. We have to bring it up, discuss it, release it, and stand in that light. If that makes any sense. I feel like this is, we are at to start to see what we need to figure out. We're starting to see more of what we need to figure out. And there is a lot, within the world, the geometrics link. There's a lot of Uranian energy that is really, since Uranus is going forward, is really going to heighten. We have a huge, with personal planets in Capricorn that's coming up during this new moon, when it has to do with Pisces. I mean, Mercury, Mercury. I know Neptune keeps coming in. Mercury, Venus, and Mars, because Mars is going into Capricorn this week, and he's exalted. He loves Capricorn. He wants, and he is the god of war. So in comes god of war into Capricorn, place of structure, patriarchal system, a place where we look at our institutions. One of the institutions that is part of Capricorn is the House of War, is the army, the military. And in comes lovely little Mr. Mars, and he is activated. So there's an activation that's coming in that is activating things of awakening. And some of these awakenings are going to be very warlike, very warrior. The goddess Athena, Pallas Athena, just broke away from Neptune. That is the sister of Mars. And Pallas Athena has been in Pisces. And it's been kind of good that she's been there, because she is very much, she doesn't ask questions. She goes in there. She's going to behead everybody. She's, she's very activating. And in the next couple of weeks, she's going to be going into Aries. She's going into her brother's house. So here comes Pallas Athena, the goddess of war, is entering into the house of war. So we have these activation points that are happening. And they're activation points that don't happen usually all at once, but they are. This is what part of this huge awakening is happening. This is where we're going to be seeing and unearthing a lot more of financial issues, rich, powerful people being exposed more. We're going to have all of that coming out, along with, and this is where we don't want to get lost in, where there's going to be, US is ready to take severe action on. Words are nothing. Sanctions are nothing. You think what he's going to do is going to ruin the economy of Russia? No, it's not. Not when other big forces are coming together. And this is where our own resilience is what needs to happen. In the past, we have gone out and we've relied out, and this is where the Piscean, and this is where God's out there. We rely on this out there. But this is where, when we're coming in on this bridge, or on this cusp of Aquarius, God is within us. God is within us. This is preparation for what we have and what we can do. Right? And people aren't ready for the shortages in rice. No, they're not, Jennifer. No, they're not. And that's why building, one of the images I had was having a outdoor pantry. So like a little pantry outside on my front lawn, and putting stuff in there. So people with little bags, and you can go and you can pick up whatever you need. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to be seeing, because it's building community, because we're not wanting to let anybody starve. I've said this before in my scopes, and I'm going to say it again. I have a feeling, it feels like the energy of World War II. And that could be from a past life that I lived through in World War II. I don't think so. I think I stayed away until till 1963. Stayed away. I stayed away because I was like, I don't want to come back anymore. And then find, I had to come back to clear some things up. And this is looking at new social structures. So we're going to be looking at what are the new social structures that we need to have, because with Uranus, the upper hand, the power to the people, the rebellion, the revolution, the instability. So this is going to bring in extremes, extreme weather patterns, extreme actions. Extremes are going to come in, and this is finding that tribe, that collaboration, which is going to bring in the power. This is not only in North America. I'm talking about, like, even in the Ukraine, the power of the people coming together saying, I don't want to be oppressed by Russia. I don't want that oppression. I will love my independence. I love what I have fought for. And this is what it is. What are you fighting for? What are you standing up for? That's where the light shines. Now, many of you may not believe in war or don't like the idea of war. I don't like the idea of war. I don't like the idea of going out and shooting people. That's not, no. But here it comes in. We are human beings on this earth. And as humans, war is a part of our earth. Even though, as wonderful as what spiritualists would love to say we walk into, and we really would like to have a beautiful world and a utopia world where there is no war, where there is no poor. But we've all come in here on different karmic roads of doing our cleansing and clearing at different levels. Not everybody's at the same level. So this is that, if you are at, feeling of that, I'm in that euphoria, pretty princess unicorn loving. God, thank you. I'm sorry, unicorns, for putting you in this. But putting that energy there is like, then you have a responsibility to help other people. That's your responsibility. You have a responsibility. It's not saying that you're lowering your energy. That means you have a responsibility to help create that here. And how do you do it? It is through volunteering. It is through service. It's through actions. And that's what it is. Because we have been in a long time, us all in our own little utopias, in our own little world, going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home, doing our little vacays, going over here, going in that. That's gone. That's gone. We had to break down those walls, but in breaking down those walls, things had to happen. Although they tried to oppress us in many ways by locking us down. But there is this rising of saying, I'm not going to be locked down. I don't want that. We're not going back to that little utopia world. It's not there. It's done. We're entering into a new world. And how do we want to break that down? Right now, it's like we have to break down other forces. It's going to take us some time. It's going to take, and when I say some time, it's not like a week or 2 weeks. This is years. This is years. The United States does not want to get into any wars. Although they've already sent missiles and everything over to the Ukraine, they already got ships in the South Pacific Sea. They're already in there training Ukrainian troops. We have Canadian troops that are over there at this time. They have been deployed. Is this in right front news? No. Why did Britain stop the mandates? You can't have lockdowns if you're going to war. You can't. You need the people. Why did the United States pass it? They weren't going to draft women. The draft hasn't even been around since what? Since Vietnam War. But they took women out of it. There's a reason. It's not saying women can't join the army. They can't say women can't be a part of the army, but they're not going to be drafting them. It's going to be from the ages of 18 to 26 is the draft. These are the things that come in that are being implemented. There's been such a setup for things to happen, such a setup for things to unveil. And we are coming into some radical, crazy energies that are going to have us come into our truth. And we're going to be revisiting how governments handle it, how things are handled. We got a little turd for a prime minister who wants to have his way, but when he gets the phone call from the governor general, he's got to do what the governor general says, because that comes in from the queen. That's what it is. That's the wake-up call that I'm trying to get people to look at. You got to understand what our Constitution says. When people say that, oh, he can't do that. Yeah, he can. It's written. It's one of the clauses in the Constitution. And if we step into that energy of war, with Mars going into Capricorn, with the energy of Pallas Athena going, it will be going into Aries, not right away, but she's heading that way. She's heading that way. And with Uranus direct and Pluto direct, I'm sorry, that means that there is going to be some crazy disruptions happening. We might get a bit of a reprieve in March, but then in April we have Uranus and Jupiter conjuncting in Pisces, and then Jupiter goes into Aries. It's about disruption. It's about shaking you up, bringing things to the surface. And this is, really coming forth where a lot of, sacred geometry is coming in for many people, how to anchor that sacred geometry into the earth. Yes, so that we can create the harmony and peace as things are getting disrupted. This is all part of it. It's like you have this higher energy working, keep trying to keep the balance over here, as down here it's like we got to fight for our rights. We got to fight for what is wrong. We can't allow for them to invade and take over. Russia doesn't want to do cryptocurrency. It's not worried about if those sanctions go on Russia. Think about it. Go on. Russia can make their own Bitcoin, and they can join with China to make their own coin. If they make their own coin, if Russia and China make their own coin and come out, that's the new world currency. Because the US currency is shit right now. So if they come out, because Bitcoin is there's only a limited amount, and they can make it, that means we become a third world with our inflation and everything rising. This is the change. As I said, borders are changing, things are coming in, new movements are coming forward. How do we work with all of these new vibrations and changes that are happening? We come back into our light. We come back into our community, look at what we can do. It could be that, okay, maybe it's not a community hub, say like, the big community food bank we have in Calgary. Maybe it's smaller ones that we start out in our community and say, okay, you know what? I've gotten all of this food from XYZ. Here you go. Let's spread it out. Food's there. There's a lot of food there. There's a lot of food waste, but food is there. That's the thing. That's building the community. That's building. And when we do that, that means we have people, when things come together, when the shit hits the fan, okay, we got that community going. We got our backing, right? That's where we're at. And that's what we're heading into. We're sailing right into the storm. We are the cyclone sailing, going into the storm. And this is what we're heading forth. And this is bringing in where we have to do the collaboration with the power of the people. Energize, activate, and awaken. You can't sit back anymore and be a pie in the sky, wear your mask and think, oh, I'm just wearing my mask because, I just don't want to offend anybody. Fuck that. It's done. It's done. It's done. It is an activation of coming in. There's a reason why pilots don't want to take the experimental vaccination. It is experimental. The reason being is because of heart attacks, blood clots, passing out. This awakening will happen when two planes collide in the air. Something crazy like that happening. I don't want it to happen, but that's when people are like, "Oh, they were both vaccinated?" Yeah, they both passed out and had heart attacks. Oh. There's a reason, British Airways has stopped vaccinated pilots from flying because they had planes that crashed or had to do emergency landing. So this is part of the awakening. Do they tell you these things? No, it's on like page 12, you know? Or it comes out on a Friday because we don't want people to really pay any attention to it. We don't want you paying any attention, so we'll just put it out here. So this is where it's like, when the eruptions that are happening, this is where shutting down on travel is happening. And we're in a 13 year of this happening because it has to do with Jupiter and Pluto. Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pluto. So when they come together, crazy shit happens. Last time, I don't know, an explosion, 9/11. So crazy shit happens. And we also have a Pluto conjuncting Pluto in the United States. So the United States is reformulating itself, trying to reactivate what is their truth, what is that of being, to honor, reactivating their honor. That's their Pluto conjunction, plus a Neptune opposition. What is it that our dreams are? What are our desires? Where is it that we want to head to? And that's an important piece for them. And that's an important piece because that's going to vibrate out to the rest of the world. The United States didn't join World War II. World War II was already happening, but it didn't join. And it happened when Germany invaded Poland. And then it invaded France and a few other countries. And then people are like, holy shit, we got to wake up. But then the United States got bombed. Pearl Harbor, that was another shit show. The Admiral was speaking in Washington, D.C. on the Saturday. And when Pearl Harbor got bombed, they could see things on because they had the satellite up there, the radar going on, but they were just starting to use radar. Somebody said, oh, it's a flock of geese. It's all of this. The Army was on the base at Pearl Harbor. There was one commander in charge, and he had the only key, and he had all the planes locked down. All the carrier planes were out off the base doing drills. And for the last year and something, they had Japanese tourists coming in, taking pictures. Tourists. Because it was a shallow base. So they had to know the depth of how to drop the torpedoes to bomb everything. And so it happened so fast. And they couldn't get the commander-in-chief, to find the keys to unlock the planes. And they were actually locked down, like a bicycle lock kind of thing. And it was an awakening. Holy shit. They kind of knew, they heard about it, but they were ignoring it. They kind of knew Japan was up to things. That Japan was the one invading. This time it's reversed. China was the one invading. Last time it was Germany invading. This time it's Russia invading. Flip scenarios. Same setup. And there was Olympics just before everything. And everybody went off to the German Olympics. Everybody's going off to the Chinese Olympics. And everything that you had to go through to go to the German Olympics, there was a lot of hoops before you could enter the country. Same with going into China. So this is the awakening. Are we seeing it? Are you realize like, holy fuck? And in awakening and seeing it, okay, you know what? I can't change some of this stuff, but what I can do, I can come into my light, I can come into my energies, and I can say, okay, you know what? What can I do? Where am I being led to do more things, to create community, to make sure that there's an anchor here so that my neighbor has food or I have food or this person has food or that I'm able to like, oh, you know what? I have a kerosene heat oil heater. Okay, I got two of them. I can loan you one. I don't have two, but can do you have a kerosene heater? Do you have a wood burning stove? Do you have wood? This is like, what do you have? Do you have a lot of coal on hand for your barbecue to cook and things like that? These are things. This is preparing. If you have too much, it's not going to go to waste. This is what it means to prepare, to get ready, to not get thrown off. I'm going to be sturdy. I'm going to have these things. And it takes, and this is going to go for several years, people. The United States didn't join till later on, and that wasn't until Uranus went in to Gemini. Then they really joined in on both fronts. And that's where it's at. That's where the energy is. So here we are, awakening, looking at where we can make the changes in our life and the connections. So this weekend is a great weekend. Remember last weekend I said, okay, how are you going to plan your week? This is another week. How are you going to plan your week? How are you going to plan the action steps? And where are the baby steps that you need to take in order to make those actions and step more into your light? That's where it is. And as you're stepping into your light, you're stepping into more. And it's weird that so many houses don't, like even my house doesn't even have a phone, can't get a phone line. I don't have the wiring in my house anymore for a phone line. I'm just like, okay. All right. But there's going to be other ways of getting out and communicating with people. So sending you guys out, it's like sending out scary messages, not to send out scary messages, but I'm wanting people to wake up and see the truth of what's going on. It's not a conspiracy theory. I follow the astrology. I've been following the astrology all along and continually staying in my light as I follow the astrology because that's what it's showing me. It shows me, and when I compare it to other times, because that's what astrology is, it's based on history. This is what has happened. This is the history of what has happened when these planets have been in these spaces before. When you step back and you start to look at it and you're like, oh, okay. What are the changes I need to be? Oh, but we have this energy, which is a little different, which means that there's more light, more beauty that's coming in. Let me step into that so I can help to anchor more of that into earth as things start to get more disruptive. And that's part of our job. If you're wanting to book a consultation, go to thegurumama.com and book a consultation. And I would love to sit down and have a cup of tea and my tarot cards and do a reading for you. And if you're wanting to learn more about tarot, I have a class coming up in March and it's $100 and it is going to be for 5 weeks. We also have Angel Alchemy that's coming up next weekend on the 29th. I think it's the 29th. Anyways, that weekend, next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you want to learn about anchoring the angels into a medicine wheel and creating that energy for your backyard, for your home, for your family, we have that class happening next week. We work with 16 cardinal archangels and the Divine Mother. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful energy to be working with. And especially as we are in we're doing this just as we are entering into a new moon. So if you are wanting to join me for doing some angel work, get a hold of me. And I do have payment plans for all of my classes, always do. And I work with your budget, not my budget. I work with your budget on how it works for you in doing a payment plan. Sending out so much love. May the Lord and Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you in all that you say and all that you be and all you do. Blessed be everybody. And thank you, thank you, thank you for being a part of my community. Like and subscribe on my YouTube channel and please share it out. Blessed be everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.